The good news is Canada avoided the worst of the global recession. The bad news out this week, though, Canadians spending too much money too fast, living paycheck to paycheck, and have not much money tucked away in case of emergency. According to the Toronto Star, 60% of Canadians stretching their paycheck, and household debt in Canada, wait for it, stands at a staggering $1.5 trillion. That's trillion with a T. David Lester is back here in the studio with us. After years of working in personal finance, recently wrote a self-help book of sorts that's called I Love Money, helping people to get their finances in order. And a little bit about this, because I want to get your perspective. Are you surprised about this news? Because it's kind of depressing, $1.5 trillion in debt.
Yeah, no, not at all. If you look at our past history, we were spending when times were good, and now that times aren't as great, we have been left with, the hangover of us drunken sailor spending, and now we have to clean up the mess.
I would have thought that because of the example in the United States, watching what has happened there and continues to happen there, that would have kind of put the fear of God in people, so to speak, in Canada, but it seems people are still spending.
Yeah, no, you're right. And this is time, and I talk about this in my book, where we've outsourced our finances for too long, and we need to insource right now, take ownership of it, figure out where we are. The very first thing we need to do is figure out our net worth. So just like a map, if you don't know where you are or where you want to go, you're always going to be lost. So everyone has to figure out their net worth and where they want to go, and then anchor to that and move towards it.
How do you think household debt can get that high?
It's just about, again, like spending, and I talk about the book about using cash. So the best way about harnessing
always
that,
use cash, right?
That's right?
Don't use your credit card. Try not to even use your debit card. Actually use cash.
Exactly. And I talk about 3 millennia, we always use the barter system with like gold or hard currencies. And only for about 60 years, we've had these plastic little pieces that there's no detachment when you're just like swiping away and buying these things for whatever reason. And I talk about going back to cash, where you actually physically feel that currency, the thing that you love and cherish, or you should, leaving your possession for something.
When you say detachment, exactly, because it's this sort of separation anxiety, right? You're actually taking something out of your pocket and you're giving it away.
Exactly. And then at that point, when you have that bad feeling, that bad tingly feeling, like, maybe I really don't need this. Maybe I'm buying this for the wrong reason because I had a bad day or because, my relationship isn't going so great. Then you're like, maybe I'm going to keep this because, there's strength and there's security in having that cash in my pocket.
We know impulse spending is bad. In terms of paycheck to paycheck, though, a lot of people out there, they're just spending it all. They're not putting anything away.
No, it's true. And that's where you have to look at your plan again and figure out, I want to know where I have to be. And then you work backwards. Okay, this is where I want to be. This is my net worth that I want to have. And when I have this net worth, it'll give me this great sense of security. I'll be able to do these great things with my family. And then you work backwards for a plan. So it's like, okay, that's where I want to be. How do I get there? Do I need to make more money? Do I need to save more money? I need to pay down my debts. And, step by step by step, this is where I want to go.
Do you think in some ways, though, to be honest, that we're kind of fighting human nature? Because people have this sense of, I might say, kind of like short-term gratification versus long-term gratification?
Absolutely. And that's another part that I talk about in the book. When we spend, we're really spending for a bunch of different reasons. And we need to figure out, before we even look at the dollars and cents, what makes us happy. So is it family? Is it freedom? Is it sense of security, like I just talked about? And then back in the money after that happens. So once you figure out what makes you happy, then you go and you're like, okay, so if I have this amount of money in my bank account, that'll satisfy my sense of security. If I have money in my savings account or my RSP that later I'll be able to travel with my spouse or do whatever I want to do, that'll satisfy my sense of freedom. And then when you have the plan to get to those places, you don't spend nilly-willy because you've anchored to what's going to make you really happy, and then you won't just be buying sweaters because you're bored or just spending, things on whatever just for a quick fix. It's all about the long term.
All right, you're going to be at Chapters tomorrow.
I will.
From 1 to 4, signing books for I Heart Money, I Love Money.
I Heart Money, yeah.
And it's a really interesting book because you give a little bit of a reset on how people look at their money and their relationship. I want to thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Another look at the forecast now, Lori.
And we're going to start things off down in the tropics.